Okay, so of course the Oriana would be a standard answer, and Cassiopeia makes a lot of sense. I think the reason why they're going to ban that is because Bulldog himself is so good on the Cassiopeia. You don't just want to give Creme that to take it away for the Fearless. So that makes a lot of sense. It means that champs like Syndra and Victor are still open. This is kind of the big four from what we've come to find is Oriana, Cassiopeia, Syndra, Victor. We'll see if any of those get picked up because those last three, Cassiopeia, Syndra, Victor, have a lot of flexibility. And it's more than likely that those will show up on either of these comps. Same with the Ziggs and Camille. So we'll see who wants to go for some kind of magic damage if it's going to be any of those champions. And those will enable the likes of the Camille.
Well, it might just be a Vi early here for Tian, a champion that can get this TES jungler active around at the map early. That is something that, of course, Tian has really enjoyed doing as a part of this top esports roster since he has integrated back into the team at the start of split number 2. The response for Edward Gaming, see exactly where that lies. Lot of, rise overall this split for Bulldog, although you might not have been as high on this champion for this player.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Bulldog on his rise right now in this split of the LPL is 0-3 so far in the group Ascent. He hasn't caught a game win on the rise, and he's looking to change that here tonight, which is a very interesting choice. I'm personally not the biggest fan. I do prefer the Syndra Victor. This opens up some exposure to even champs like Anivia, but that's just the thing is we're really looking to see what the supports are looking for down there. When they have Vi, that makes Shen one of the best champs in the whole game. And I'm not so sure if you want to pick that kind of champion already because Camille's not showing. So I would not be surprised at all to see TES slam Ziggs Camille. But maybe the meta is adapting in ways which we haven't recently seen. This would be a standard Ziggs Camille slam here, but they might have another idea that they could go well into Rise Ezreal here.
I mean, both those picks, definitely things that TS are comfortable utilizing. Camille and Vi being point and click CC onto the Ezreal on Leave's end could also be very beneficial. But maybe top esports just want to confirm a strong top side for themselves. They're going to lock in the Rumble for Zuian and then probably look for a mid laner to counter the Rise for a Bulldog. Talked about things like the Anivia. Ahri is another answer that can really synergize well with the Vi.
I think if they lock this in here, this 3 as a response is actually really interesting because Rumble Vi is a really great combination. You're targeted by the Vi ult and he just drops the equalizer on you and you just take so much unavoidable damage. And so that's a great combo for Vi. And same goes with Ahri Vi. Ahri Vi is kind of like an Ashe Seraphine of the mid lane where you just pick these two champs together and they become so much more powerful. So yeah, those 3 go really well together. And we'll see which direction EDG wants to go. I'll be very, very suspecting some bot side bans with all these picks coming in here. So we'll see if those Ziggs Camille I've been mentioning do get targeted or if those just aren't a priority for these teams right now.
Yep, there's the Jarvan. I'd be very surprised to see the Camille not taken away here as we enter that second phase of bans. Right now, a lot of easy engage on EDG side and on TS's side. The mid jungle here for Tian and Creme, as well as having that Jarvan just ult anybody who gets in their way, means that we are set up for a lot of explosive team fights once it comes down to it here in this game number 1. Lucian first ban away here from JackeyLove. That has been a pick alongside the Milio. We've definitely seen him have some success on. We'll see what top esports want to focus now that ZDZ could potentially have a couple of his picks banned away.
You know, it makes perfect sense that they would ban the Lucian into the JackeyLove here because Rumble hasn't seen as much prominence lately just because of all those mages being picked in the bot side. But Lucian has been considered to be one of the best AD champs still available. You pair him with the Nami or the Milio, especially the Milio, and it's so effective down there. So that would have really made this comp OP if you had those 3 I was describing topside and then brought in a Lucian combo down there. This comp would be SZ tier right now. But yeah, ban that away. As for ZDZ targets, Ambessa makes perfect sense into a comp like this, though you can't pick the Ambessa yourself right as top esports because Vi and Rumble, it means your top and jungle is already taken. So it means, yeah, it's a good ban because they can pick it and you can't. And they just decided to take away the Bard as well, which is interesting, considering some of these champs have more counterplay into the Bard, but Bard is pretty good into Vi, right? You Vi out someone, you can drop up Bard, kind of give them a free Zonias and a chance to bail out, so makes sense.
Yeah, Ezreal Bard, I think one of the most popular bot lane duos that we have that aren't, involving mages at this stage. And so seeing Parukia not be able to play that one is definitely a good sign for top esports. Going to be a Gnar lock-in for ZDZ. Rather standard pick, but definitely something that will be able to do a lot, both in the early, mid, and late game. Now top esports have to finish off their bot lane. I think the important thing to note here, folks, double AP solo lanes means that we're most likely seeing a marksman here for JackeyLove.
Yeah, should be seeing a marksman here. And I believe it's the current patch, so you're going to want to be typically picking a champion who can benefit from the recent Yuntal buffs. But the Varus comes in here, a really strong pick as well. I'd be curious to see which Varus build he goes for here, if it's going to be more of the poke or the on-hit. We've been seeing some effectivity from the, the static shiv. You've even got Dusk and Dawn, and maybe with Terminus buffed now as well, that could be a really strong champ down there in the bot side. So we'll see how JackeyLove plays this one out. And Rel gonna get to find a good angle here. You don't always get the best of Rel angles where you have allies who can follow up with you and be dive buddies with you, and they don't have like a ranged support countering you down there. Rel's really good into the Nautilus, break right through the shield. And yeah, this is a really good last pick for EDG. And both comps are pretty good here. I don't know which one I'm favoring quite, Grapes.
One thing is for sure, team fighting is going to be at the forefront of both of these compositions and their goals here in this game. I think top esports can scrap a little bit earlier on. They have really strong, synergies in 2v2s and 3v3 situations. The Vi Ahri having a rumble in there as well, and the Varus Nautilus should be able to have a very good laning phase in addition to it. But then when everything comes together, if Bulldog and Leave can get a lot of items, cannot fall too far behind, this late game 5v5 composition on Edward Gaming side should be very, very dangerous.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that Rise champion in the late game, Bulldog himself, can really get these guys their first win on the board here for the group Ascent. It just looks right, the roster, those 5 of them together there. Now that Jij is there, I'm liking what I'm seeing here for this EDG team, and let's see if they can scale it up and make it happen.
It is the debut or the return of Jij back on Edward Gaming, where he won his World Championship 5 years ago. It is top esports on the other side, looking to get up to 5-1, feeling very comfortable going into their final match of the first round robin, going up against BLG in just a couple of days. Our second series of the day about to get started here in Beijing. Oh my god.
Wow, wow, wow. I love it so much.
We have one very big EDG fan here in this first game. Oh, that was crazy.
Heck yeah, man. Heck
Fire
yeah.
me up.
I mean, that's what I'm saying, man. The LPL is the best show on earth. I said it before, I'll say it again. And I'm so glad to be watching Bulldog in that LPL. As I said, I'm seeing that camera mid. You see how much chunking and trading they're doing already in that Rise Ahri matchup. Let's take a look bot if they go for something similar.
Redline comes out onto Parukia, but he's able to land that crash down in response. Rose already down to 300 HP, and there's multiple summoner spells already being burned. Leave with that lethal tempo, doing a lot of Jij. Already up to an early invade, finds the flag and drag onto Tian and takes him very low. Has the shield to keep him alive, but there's no way for Tian to get over the pitch just yet, saving that flash until the rest of his team arrives, and it will be the Jarvan flashing away.
I forgot, Grapes. We're watching the LPL. We're not just going to full clear and everybody goes happy and dandy with their days. No, we got to have some chaos take place in the early game. And Jij is going to be the first person getting up to no good. We saw both junglers there had no smite into that Gromp. So it was just kind of a full-on auto-attack flip. And wasn't able to go the way of Jij. Tian getting that heal from last hitting that Gromp, really making a trade here.
More trading once again. Leave still has his flash, also very tanky with that Doran's helm. So feeling comfortable enough to just make sure that wave gets crashed underneath top esports' turret. And then we'll likely head back for a base. You see exhaust here for Leave already used. JackeyLove on the flip side has the teleport. So we'll be able to play a little bit more free and loose with his health bar, knowing that he has a free opportunity to get back into the lane whenever he so desires.
Big dredge line.
Back to base though, Parukia could be in some trouble. He's trying to step up just to soak up some XP and takes a lot of damage and was also forced to burn his flash.
Parukia does survive the situation with his health bar, so that's something he's thankful for here. But looking a bit stressful, or worse for wear down here, is Leave. Just barely escapes the fountain with his Tear of the Goddess. That's all you really need here on the Ezreal, so he's low-key chilling. But as for the JackeyLove, I do quite like the build. Ever since the Doran's bow came out, I thought it's a really good fit, actually, for the poke Varus, because you're building all these high AD items, and you're poking with so much damage, you don't really get to fit any attack speed anywhere into the build, and so that's why that Doran's bow can really allow you to be so strong with such high AD stat numbers and then make use of them even more in these close range fights or in this early game down here. Even taking the TP, as you said, meaning he has all that effective extra HP where he can trade his HP bar with a little less of that missing health he'd have from buying a Doran's Blade and then just TP right back.
Yeah, it looks like he already did that to pick up a tier of his own. Both bot laners try to scale up a little bit while also hitting their fair share of poke. Our junglers now heading to their bot side, second spawning of each of their respective camps. We saw JJ going for that early play off the invade, but not finding too much off of it, so it is still a very neutral game state early on here. Zuian and ZDZ duking it out as well. And we were talking about how both these top laners love to get early advantages here into the top side of the map, and so far, nobody has really been able to break open either of the lanes.
Yeah, aside from JJ's shenanigans, this has been one of the more standard early games or even drafts that we've seen here in the current meta nowadays. You know, even with this Rumble Gnar, this is at least somewhat more classic, you know, more generic, where we don't have like Varus or anything crazy up there in the top lane. Rumble's a bit more, you know, realistic. And then as for the bot lane, these supports are laning bots so far, so everything's going pretty well and pretty naturally down there, but I bet you they're going to start to look more around the map now with these levels. We've got level 4 on Dro here, you know, looking to at least secure some vision while taking some trips away from this bot lane.
So JackeyLove's going to have to be a little bit cautious with Parukia now healing just to get a little extra movement speed. Crash down connects. JackeyLove's flashing backwards to try to join his support, but it won't be enough distance generated. Leave with the Mystic Shot. Picks up first blood for Edward Gaming.
Yeah, beautiful flash follow from Leave. We see ZDZ. You love it on the standard Gnar here, making use of the Gnar into the wall because you don't really get many chances otherwise, but Leave here, beautiful flash follow, getting to secure the last hit onto JackeyLove there. And it's as we were saying, Zhuo has these timers to go around the map, but it's just about being on the same page as your bot laner. You know, that's the whole name of the game nowadays, with even drafting these mages to get to have more safety from afar. JackeyLove trying to have safety from afar there, but Parukia getting right on top of them and securing that first blood for Team EDG.
It's a life cycle in League of Legends, right? Where you see the heavy roaming supports come out, and then the response is first, you know, we're just going to play all these roaming supports, all these mages bot lane, and then people realize, wait, we could just 2v1 kill the enemy bot laner, and we'll be able to win that way. And so now we're kind of going back into that way. We're starting to slowly observe the transition in reverse, right? And now we're seeing just, you know, more standard bottom lanes. Sure, the Realm the Nautilus here going to have opportunities to roam, but the 2v2 has favored Edward Gaming so far, and that is where the advantage for them in this game currently resides.
Yeah, Parukia looking for some more aggressive plays down here. Just a slight chunk and trade of runes. Nothing too serious till JJ.
But JJ is here as well, and he knows that JackeyLove doesn't have a flash. Cataclysm immediately onto 2, and JJ is welcomed back with glory, getting a 2v2 kill down in the bottom lane to make it 3-0 Edward Gaming.
Looking buzzing down there in the player cams. We're so back as Team EDG. This might be one of the greatest early games we've seen so far. We got them on some pretty solid comfort picks on a standard natural draft like we were saying. We wanted to see Leave on some of his favorite champions. I know Ezreal's one of them. And 2-0-1 on Leave after that beautiful flash cataclysm from JJ. He's so glad to be back on this EDG org, and you can see it right there with the emotion showed through the game.
And Jarvan was such a critical pick for Edward Gaming when they went on their World Championship run. JJ had so many incredible games on this champion specifically, brought them to an LPL title, and of course that Worlds title. Top Esports going to respond by taking this 10% Dragon, but Edward Gaming still feeling very good about where their state in the game currently is. Leave and Parukia certainly leading the charge. They're up nearly 1,000 gold up against JackeyLove and 12.
So I'll give you some perspective into my takes here on the meta nowadays about this kind of Drake versus Grubs, and there's been a bit of an agreement that the Grubs are really, really good nowadays, Grapes. The Grubs allow you to do everything. You can proc your quests way sooner, get a lot of stuff done. That's why EDG wants these so badly, but that's why you see 4 champs up here from both teams.
So EDG trying to get in there. Zhuo starting the engage with the dredge line, but Parukia very tanky, especially with that aftershock, so he'll be able to use the crash down just to escape, and Tian will make his way back towards the Grub camp. JackeyLove and Leave fighting a little bit down here. We see the Chain of Corruption being used, but Leave gonna still get that wave shoved in as Tian finishes off the rest of the Grub camp. So overall, Edward Gaming up in gold, while Top Esports have had their fair share of neutral objectives so far in this one.
Yeah, you would have loved to have all 3 Grubs as EDG there, but Top Esports, you know, more power to them. They were ready to respond to that look, and they get rewarded for it. That means that this game state's going to somewhat equalize, as you say, with getting the objectives. That does negate some of the implications of gold leads. I say that there's still 1 Grub left. That's low-key helpful, but it's not going to be something you're writing home about. You really want all 3 to have a really good start, and snowballing the amount of gold you can get. You can even at that point send your 80 carry top and just trade plates. It doesn't even matter if you're not getting the boosted quest progress from the bot lane. You just take the plates and one-shot them with the Grubs, and you win the quest race anyway.
So far, it definitely has favored Leave and EDG. You can see Leave going for the Gluttonous Greaves first item too, so he's really trying to snowball this game. Pick up as many takedowns as he can, get those stacks up, and be the strongest player on the map. You can already see that True Shot Barrage coming out, doing a decent amount of damage. Edward Gaming, a little bit of a new look to them, and maybe having JJ back on this team has reignited the vibes a bit. Somehow, Top Esports really not having an answer in terms of at least getting some kills back on the map with what should be a stronger composition here in the mid game.
I think it really has reignited the vibes here a bit somehow, Grapes. I mean, I'm seeing him, the way he's buzzing, the way he's playing, like he's got confidence, and now we got Bulldog with some confident looks up here. Tian in response.
Yeah, throwing the realm
gonna be a back
here,
ping.
Tian, good there to defend Zuian, make sure there's no further engage. Want to see a little bit more out of Tian specifically, right? He's on this Vi, he now has level 6, actually level 8 now on this pick, but he's really just been power farming, not looking for too many opportunities across the map. The Vi Ahri combo is always one that we are very excited to see you know, take action in the first 15 minutes, and so far we've seen nothing out of those two so far.
Yeah, as for the mid lane matchup, it's a little more stable than most nowadays with the Ahri Rise. The Rise just builds HP and Merc treads, and he just kind of lets the Ahri get away with what she wants, so it's not really going to be too much of a lead here that Creme does have. He does have the Malignance already complete, so if anything, this is his one big power spike while he does have this and Bulldog doesn't have much. So maybe a fight in this kind of conditions could favor TES.
It's like Top Esports are hunting for something, clearing out some vision, and now Zhuo sends out the dredge line, depth charge onto JJ as well. The target immediately being Parukia, but he's still alive as the cease and desist going on to JJ as well. He finds the Cataclysm onto JackeyLove and traps the rest of the bot lane in there, but Tian's able to follow up with the Flash Vault Breaker and make it a 2-for-0 on Top Esports' side. Zuian is on the way, throws the Equalizer out to try to slow Bulldog down and allow for Tian to finish the kill off. The Blast Cone going to save his life for a little bit longer, and now Bulldog on the run with the Ghost will be able to survive, but it's 2 more kills going into Top Esports' hands as they find their way back into this game.
Yeah, and that play right there, that play puts Top Esports in the lead for sure, Grapes. And this is exactly what I kind of foresaw. With that Malignance power spike on the Ahri, you are just so strong right there. As Parukia, you're thinking, I'm just contesting the banana brush, and it's nothing too serious. And it doesn't matter all that much into Zhuo here, but it does because of the fact that Creme is able to reach you and damage you, and JJ with this Malignance, and with Tian and JackeyLove all in here together. This Ahri has so much reach here, Grapes. Look, he's ulting and chasing Parukia all the way from his mid-tier 1 tower. So that power spike on Creme is able to barely get that HP bar off of Parukia, get that reset, get them 2 kills here as top esports.
Edward Gaming still have the gold lead just because of the way that the waves and the plates have worked out, but top esports feeling much better about that. Tian and Creme finally uniting alongside Zhuo, and they're able to pick up a couple of kills. Those both are going to feel very good here for this mid-jungle duo of TES. They already had their first completed items, as you say, working towards their second, as the dragon has now spawned on the bottom side river. Going to be that Hex Tech, so certainly a valuable one to grab. And you can see both junglers already down here, looking for a little scrap in the 3v3.
Could definitely see some skirmishing down here. Bulldog still not having the Roa, really much weaker than Creme than the gold lead is showing. Whereas Leave here and JackeyLove are actually somewhat on item parity. So definitely a bit top esports is better looking than it looks on the scoreboard at the very least. But Leave is very strong. That's the one thing. With this extra combat sum of the exhaust as well, you can just plant that on the Ahri even. You know, in these kind of fights down here where Leave is really able to make a mark, that's going to be much more beneficial. Because the thing with last fight is, it was just kind of Parukia overextending with JJ. Leave wasn't able to influence the fight. He was stuck down there fighting JackeyLove. If we get Leave into some of these fights, spending some of this gold lead, that's when I think EDG can be in a much more favorable condition.
Yeah, they're always the composition, and we talked about it here going into the game, that scales really well, right? You have the double tier in the Rise Ezreal. Of course, you're going to have the Rod of Ages on Bulldog eventually as well. They're already off to a good start, having that 700 gold lead, top esports start up this Dragon. Parukia tries to get in there, but JJ's going to be a little bit too late, as it is a 2-0 lead in the Dragon department, and going to be a little bit more in terms of kills. JJ gets one shot, but DDZ's here on the teleport. Zuian matching it as well. This Gnar is stuck in a 1v5, not winning that one, as Bulldog now has to use the Realm Warp to escape. Top esports able to take the Dragon and pick up a couple more kills.
Yeah, there goes the momentum, but Leave wants it back.
Oh, he flashes over the charm. He's looking to try to outplay this one, but he flies too close to the sun. Tian and Zhuo there to follow up. Thought it was a 1v1, but there were 3 more members of TES ready to take the Ezreal down.
Wow, I really thought Leave was going to pull a rabbit out of a hat at the end of that there, but just barely comes a miss. And then JJ here, you can't really access Creme on this Ahri. It's such a strong pick here into the Jarvan, but Parukia trying to get something done in this backline with ZDZ. Look at the ulti from Tian. That's what really disrupted ZDZ there. Not able to get his CC out and put an impact in that fight. You'd think coming in with the TP shield, he'd be able to do something, but look at this. Our flash from Leave. So close, but the Q is not able to bend the David Beckham on the Nautilus there.
I kind of respect it because you thought he had a 1v1 kill angle, but you should know that after top esports take the Dragon that they could very much be there, and that is a mistake that we have seen far too often for a player like Leave, who has such individual talents, right? But always making these mistakes that end up hurting his team at the end of the day. Speaking of, Bulldog could be in some danger here as well. He's getting targeted here by Zuian. Electro Harpoon going to overheat him, and Tian doesn't even have to use that cease and desist to go on a rampage and to extend top esports' lead.
Yeah, look at that damage coming in from Zuian down there, just completely blasting him with the Rumble overheat, and Tian over the top, picking up the Black Cleaver. Meanwhile, Zhuo just in no man's land. That's going to help as EDG here. We got a Rift Herald as well. Tian with those 2 items, with that level 11.
That's crazy.
I don't know if he's going to contest this, Scripps. This could be pretty scary for EDG. If they walk away from here with this Rift Herald, I think the game state is actually kind of chilling.
It's definitely not what it was about 5 minutes ago, but could be a whole lot worse, all things considered. will be JJ securing that Rift Herald. We'll see what he's able to do with it. Maybe break open one of these outer turrets sooner rather than later. We have the next dragon spawning in 2.5, and looks like sooner might be the name of the game, as Creme is the focus of a play by Edward Gaming. Parukia with the flash Q, not gonna hit as Creme gets away at just the right moment, but it might not matter though. Oh, he flashes away from the Cataclysm and makes sure that JJ's not able to do any damage. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, it's gonna be Leave once again taken out by JackeyLove and Tian, as the only kill on that extended sequence is going the way of Top Esports.
Yeah, Leave just gets fully one-shot there from Tian, coming in with his 2 items, just one-shotting alongside JackeyLove. And I really wanted to see JJ drop that Eye of the Herald there. You can spawn that over that huge wall of top lane, and it'll pretty much one-shot the tower and allow them to get those kills under said tower. You know, you see him Cataclysm in there, almost getting knocked up by the depth charge and going down to the tower. So it makes me wonder, like, maybe he was still in combat, wasn't able to spawn the Rift Herald, didn't want to use it up here. But it's going to enable them to have it for a later instance, such as this dragon fight. I've always been a fan, and why I thought it looked good there, to use the Rift Herald in situations where enemy champions are involved.
Didn't have that power, and who knows if it would have resulted in Creme dying. I think Creme played that top lane sequence incredibly well with both his Spirit Rush and Flash, but you know, couldn't have hurt, right? To just have that extra bit of combat power with the Eye of the Herald. Looks like instead JJ is saving it for what could be a very decisive fighter on this next dragon. EDG want to make sure they pick this up, don't give up 3 dragons in a row to TES and a potential early Infernal Soul. Looks like the play again though will be on to Zuian. Does not have his flash, but is able to use the equalizer and then go golden to try to buy some time. Tower taken down by ZDZ. Zuian trying to get one back, but it will eventually fall. Kill credit goes over to the Gnar. ZDZ up to 2-1, but Top Esports now get to respond in the mid lane. They take down this tier 1 turret, while Creme is also pushing on the tier 2 down to the bottom lane.
Grapes, JJ might be a genius, because Zuian had this false sense of safety that his tower was going to protect him, but JJ left Zuian with a fake tower so they could dive him thereafter. Now Zhuo's in no man's land. This could be something on Parukia instead.
Another pick, but now it's Top Esports that are able to respond a little bit quicker. Tian and JackeyLove have been a very successful unit, moving around the map as a pair and able to pick up multiple kills. Tian now 5-0-4 on this bye, as it'll be a pretty easy 3rd dragon pickup for them as well.
Yeah, I was getting so excited and ahead of myself. I thought EDG would have a pretty good solid chance of getting this Drake down here. But alas, it is Top Esports who's going to be able to walk away scot-free with this one, putting them on Soul Point. But I will say, I've seen worse Soul Points in my time. Having a Soul Point and only a 2.5k gold lead, that is a surmountable amount. You can really make something happen as JJ.
Thought he was going to be face checking, but instead it could be ZDZ in a little bit of trouble. Hyper proc though, and pretty fed Gnar could look for a little bit more. Target now Creme as the flag and drag goes forward from JJ. Doesn't want to use the Cataclysm yet, knowing that the Spirit Rush is available, and just trying to burn that ulti off of the Ahri. The only prize that Edward Gaming will be able to generate here. But now with the bite reset coming through from Zhuo, Creme could still be in a little bit of trouble, as now in the mid lane it's Tian and JackeyLove. Once again, the dynamic duo on to Leave. That is his 3rd death. All 3 of them have come in the mid lane way too overextended.
Yeah, the Vi is just having Leaves number. Tian and JackeyLove just repeating the exact same play on repeat like a broken record, it feels like, into Leave. I mean, at least he's got the 2 items, but ever since he picked up those Gluttonous Griefs, he's only even gotten the 1 stack. It just has not been going nearly as well for Leave. How about Creme?
Yeah, responding on to Creme, who no longer has that Spirit Rush, and they will find a big shutdown.
Out of there.
ZDZ getting a big stack of cash. JJ flashing away from the equalizer, but the Arcane Comet will still connect, as Zuian will now get on the board and will look for a little bit more onto ZDZ. Still Mega Gnar going to try to teleport out of this one, but the damage might just be a little bit too much. No, the Gnar will escape with his life, albeit barely, and it's an overall 1-for-1.
Yeah, well played TP from ZDZ at the end to survive with his life there, picking up the Sterax now. You know, sitting on a lot of magic resist as well. This Gnar is really strong and escapes the shutdown that Zuian could have and perhaps should have had there. But yeah, the same old story on to leave. What are we gonna do about this guy?
I mean, this has kind of been the problems with Leave his whole career. Able to generate a lot of leads early game, and then just gets caught out in times like this when his team is making a play on the other side of the map, just trying to farm a wave that he is unable to farm. And that is what has happened here, and has resulted in Leave now falling behind in the gold department to JackeyLove.
I was wondering if we were on the current patch. I was pretty sure we are, and I'm very certain we are now seeing JackeyLove pick up the Bastion Breaker onto this Varus. I think that item is so strong right now. With even the amount of stats you're getting in the lethality, 22 I'm pretty sure is so strong in a single inventory slot. Imagine once he picks up his Muramana that he's going to be much more powerful than Leave is. So it's definitely something where Leave is gonna want to get some stacks on those Gluttonous Griefs, some kills on this board here to really catch back up to that lead he once had.
Yeah, he hasn't been able to get much since he picked up the boots, which is always a funny story that ends up happening. You know, when you talk about compositions with lethality Varus, a lot of the time the big problem is wave clearance. So something that, or sorry, siege power. And so something to solve that issue is this Bastion Breaker. You're going to do a lot more damage to these turrets, as well as the extra lethality that you mentioned, Fulls. JackeyLove now at 3 full items and a fully stacked Muramana, going to be incredibly powerful around this next fight around the Soul Dragon. And Top Esports might find another opportunity here on his EDZ. He's approaching Mega, so going to back away with his life, but now it is Top Esports who get their opportunity to regain control of this bottom side river.
Yeah, this is the exact spike I was concerned about. Although it only shows about a 90 gold lead for JackeyLove, I think he is much stronger than Leave is right now, at least until this last Whisper would get upgraded. But I don't really see him making that happen before this sort of mandatory Drake fight.
Yeah, look at the damage that JackeyLove is able to put out here just with a couple of piercing arrows. He is certainly in a good position, as is Tian now with a Guardian Angel in his inventory. Effectively a full GA up on Jbetto in terms of itemization. Going to be a very tough hill for Edward Gaming to climb out of here, as the mid lane push still continues to go Top's way. There is no vision in the Dragon Pit right now for Edward Gaming. They're in a very tough situation. Going to have to try to make something out of nothing. As Tian dashes forward, teleport coming in from Creme, and this will likely be the decisive fight for Top Esports if they're able to pull it off. Flag and drag does miss, and Jbetto instantly gets deleted. Hit up at the charm and taken down by the Varus. Tian in the back line looking for Leave, and Creme and him going in to a massive team fight to win. ZDZ's on the run on the backside, already a double kill for JackeyLove, looking to make it a triple on the Bulldog, and he will. Tian trying to finish off the final kill. Nars into the wall, but he still has his Guardian Angel. Creme comes in to finish it off. It is a 5-0 ace for Top Esports as they obliterate the fight in the mid lane.
Out of the blue, Top Esports takes the game by the palm of their hands, and they completely eradicate EDG from the face of the Rift. Tian uses the GA, perfectly getting across the entirety of the enemy team and their backline, one-shotting all of them alongside Creme here. As I said in the first stage of this draft, I actually thought that the 1-2-3 of the Vi, Ahri, Rumble could just be so powerful, and these players are extremely capable and sufficient on this combo and champions here. So Jbetto getting interrupted is just a beautiful start to the fight that TES needed to just completely snowball it from there.
And then it is Creme and Tian finally working together on this Vi Ahri. There's a reason this duo has been so heavily touted, as just a combination in the 2v2. They're able to work so well together, and then they split up, able to finish off the fight in their own right.
Yeah, we see them flash again for the end. The 5-0 ace makes you wonder if they're almost able to end the game. They didn't quite end it, but they've got some sort of a checkmate here at the very least now. The 4 Drakes, Infernal Soul, 6k gold lead is somewhat doable, but I mean, once this Baron goes down, you'd imagine there's just no hope left.
Yeah, Bulldog getting hit by a charm, already losing 40% of his HP. Maybe a Realm Warp in to pull off a Miracle Steal. JJ has done a number of those before on Edward Gaming, but it's going to be a lot more difficult this time around. He already has the flash over the wall as TS peel off of the Baron and maybe even angle back in for Edward Gaming, but ZDZ gets hit up by the hook and immediately taken down. It's a double kill for Creme. Bulldog able to use the Realm Warp defensively to save at least 2 of those members, but Top Esports will simply make their way back towards the Baron Nashor and pick it up without any issue.
It just seems like the game is about to end at any moment here when Top Esports even fights EDG. They can't even last for 5 seconds, it seems like, for the side of EDG. Leave again with these desperate, attempts of, I want to call it desperation, but he's doing everything he can to get some damage out and make a difference, but they're just so far behind now from such an incredibly great early game start to this position here where the late game is just all TES. 18 kills to 6, just not at all what it seemed like 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, this has really got messy real quick, and that all favored Top Esports. Real credit to Tian here in this game. He did, in my opinion, really had struggled during some of the growing pains that Top Esports ended up finding themselves in, trying to make use of a new 2v2 in the jungle support alongside Zhuo. But over these last couple of series here, been able to really increase his level of play, and Tian's going to have to be at that A game that he was at during Split 2 if Top Esports want to continue their success. Going to get flag and dragged here by Jbetto, but he's 3 levels up on the Jarvan at this point. Really no opportunity to take him down, especially with the rest of his team by his side.
Yeah, this Tian on the Vi is such a comfort pick for him. Believe me, I've seen from experience, actually, Tian on the KR server and in China. This is all he plays. This is probably his very best champion with the huge lead that he has. He could go in at any moment. Probably going to wait for the GA. I think it's only like maybe 30, 40 seconds away. But sooner rather than later here, TS going to come knocking on this front door at EDG, and I don't know if they're going to be able to keep him back.
Yeah, still a minute and a half on this Baron buff, so Top Esports not really in any sort of rush. They're going to send another wave of empowered minions in. Dredgeline lands onto Parukia. He's going to get taken down instantaneously with Creme landing the final blow. Equalizer able to do a lot to take down the enemy support, but no longer at Top Esports' disposal. Creme dashes forward, does not hit the charm, and now here's the re-engage. JJ with the shutdown, finding the kill with the Cataclysm, but will get taken down in a trade as Tian dashes forward to go unstoppable on this Vi. Mid lane tower
Round 2
and inhibitor taken down as well. Top Esports send a teleport in from Zuian. They still want to try to end this game. ZDZ is mega, but only for a little bit longer. Finds the wall up, finds the Gnar back in, but sending the Rumble into the backline is definitely not a winning formula for EDG. It is Top Esports getting 2 more kills, looking to finish off this game in less than 30 minutes. It's Leave going down. Parukia back to the fountain, and a dominant Game 1 win for TES to open up our series.
Top Esports just absolutely coming out of nowhere and just getting their revenge on EDG there. They said that early game was not what it was supposed to be. This is the level of team we are. That is the level of team you are.
Very high level of play, especially after the first few minutes. Edward Gaming, we saw a couple of shining moments for them in the first few with JJ at the helm. They had that early 2v2 kill. They then had JJ go down and make another impact. It was quickly 3-0 for Edward Gaming. We were thinking, oh my gosh, Foles, this team is back. But then Top Esports came to play just a little bit, and I feel like this is really where their team has been able to take it to the next level. The mid game, where Tian is able to get out onto the map, Zhuo is able to be a little bit more, impactful in the roam timers. That is where Top Esports have been able to really find massive swings in the gold, and they were able to do it once again right here against Edward Gaming.
Yeah, you know what it was Creme built that slight lead over Bulldog. At first, I didn't think it mattered all too much, but then he just got some spikes where he was able to influence those fights. Then they were able to keep picking out Leave with Tian and JackeyLove, and it was just a recipe for success that sort of fell through their fingertips here, or slipped through their fingers for the side of EDG. And I really think that they could try to replicate that going into a game 2. But for now, we got to look back and see what they did wrong and what Top Esports did right. And that's for them to decide what they decide to come with us next for game 2. But as for game 1, yeah, I really don't know who else to thank other than Creme. He seemed like he did so much work for the early game to get Tian into that position where it felt like the mid jungle was just running the game. I mean, sure, JackeyLove has all the damage dealt, but that's thanks to Tian and the lead he and Creme were able to build for this team.
Yeah, those two in the mid jungle for top esports, they were so good for this team in split 2. And now they're putting things back together in split 3. Tian 8-0-12 on the Vi. I think it'd be pretty difficult not to give him the pog, although Creme also had a very good performance here, Foles. Overall, it was these mid-game skirmishes. Zhuo finding these engages, and then Tian and Creme able to follow up.
Yeah, it did feel like Parukia was a bit off his number this game, and maybe that's something that could be adjusted going into the next game. It seemed like you saw him a bit at times wavering or faltering or doubting himself or kind of regretting his decisions throughout this game. And maybe that was just Zhuo having a bit more footing in that that confidence, aspect in the support here in that Nautilus first role, knowing where they can and can't be on the map. And in some of these fights, there's Tian again delivering a beautiful CC input here onto ZDZ to prevent him from buffering or getting off any kind of a Gnar ulti onto his team there. Essentially winning the fight there and then with a really clever, timely response. And, Leave, again, trying so hard to get some of these kills back for EDG, just not really knowing maybe that they're staying around there and looking to punish him, which is what they were doing all game. Their cameras were just on Leave, trying to get kills. Same thing down here. Tian just looking constantly for a place to find around the map. It didn't matter if, small mistakes like this even happened, because overall, it was TES catching off EDG way more than the other way around here. They got this kill, but look at the beautiful equalizer from Zuian. Let's not even forget about him for a moment here. The Rumble performance was there. It was sound. He did everything he needed to and more. So this entirety of top esports played great.
And it seems like the same tired song on Edward Gaming's side as well, right? Just not able to put all the pieces together. Maybe one lane ends up getting a small lead. You saw Leave get a couple of kills down there in the bottom lane. ZDZ having a couple of big shutdowns to equalize that gold a little bit on the Gnar. But when it comes down to these team fights, it's always their opposition that somehow has the upper hand in terms of positioning, and Edward Gaming need to find a way to put everything together. That is not something that they have been able to do. They are 1-11 in the game score so far, and only one game has gone their way, obviously. Other teams that have been in similar situations from Group Nirvana, like ThunderTalk and LGD, have much better game scores despite their records also not being super good. And so that is just a level of consistency that Edward Gaming still need to find.
Yeah, well, I will say that uproar that came from the start of this game with JJ showing up and saying, "Welcome back," almost. "I'm back," long time no see. That was really exciting momentum. If they can just channel a bit more of that, find that, tap into that again, that's exactly what they need to level out this series and show the top esports they can give them a run for their, the series.
Didn't do that here in game 1, though, as Tian is your player of the game. 8-0-12 on the Vi. Just an exceptional performance from one of the best junglers that we have here in the LPL. TS end up taking this first game. Edward Gaming looking to bounce back in this game number 2. We'll see if that is possible or if it will be a second straight sweep for TES after this break on LPL English.